The only way Franck Biya can become the president of Cameroon is through constitutional coup d'etat or through election. These are the only two ways he can become the president of Cameroon. And that constitutional coup d'etat can only happen when his father is still alive, because his father will be the one to carry on with that constitutional coup d'etat. Meaning because the interim president cannot amend the constitution. So the only person with the right to amend, to call for the amendment of the constitution is an elected president. And presently, President Paul Biya is the elected president, and he is the one that can call for them to amend the constitution, in which they will squeeze it in a way that Franck Biya can come in. Or Franck Biya can become the president of Cameroon through election if President Paul Biya will order the CPTM to put him as the CPTM presidential candidate for 2025 presidential election. If you are joining TFA Talking Point for your first time, subscribe to our channel. Or if you know anybody who is interested in, or tell the person about TFA Talking Point. Encourage them to listen to TFA Talking Point, and also encourage them to subscribe to TFA Talking Point. Share to them for them to see for themselves that TFA Talking Point is all about proposing lasting solutions to societal problems. Now, talking about Franck Biya, that is the first son of President Paul Biya. He is 50-something years today, and many rumors have been circulating in Cameroon that President Paul Biya has been preparing him to take over power from him. And I looked critically into it and decided to talk about it today, because I have not seen any way that can happen, except that as President Paul Biya is still alive and still the president of Cameroon, he can organize for a constitution amendment. And that constitutional amendment can maybe change it in a way that his son will be the one to take over power. Or the constitution, he can change the constitution in a way that then they will say that the prime minister will be the one to take over power. And then the interim president will come in now, and then amend the government as stated in Article 6. It's short for. It says that, however, where the organization of the presidential election so requires, the interim president of the republic may, after consultation with the Constitutional Council, amend the composition of the government. Meaning the interim government, a government has the power, or the interim president has the power to amend or the organization, the composition of the government. Meaning he can change all the ministers. And then if he can change all the ministers, and President Paul Biya, as he is now, change the constitution that the prime minister take over power the same way Amado Ahijo did for him, then when the interim president will come in now, he will appoint Franck Biya to become the president of Cameroon, to become the prime minister. And after that, constitutional stated, then he will take over power. I don't know how it can happen, but that is just the way I am thinking. And then the second point I may mention here is that he can take over power through election. That maybe President Paul Biya will call upon all the civilians, militants, and say President Franck Biya will be the presidential candidate for the CPDM for 2025. And then with the corruption in Cameroon, electoral fraud in Cameroon, a political manipulation in Cameroon, standing as a presidential candidate for the CPDM, he will win. Because all the elite, all the politicians, all the top businessmen in our locality, they are all CPDM militants, because the government bought them already and then gave them something and using it to blackmail them, and all of them must be answerable to the CPDM. That is a strategy Biya put in place all this year, and that can happen and give Franck Biya victory for the upcoming presidential election. These are the only two ways that I am thinking about. But the first point I talk about, I'm still doubting it, because to me the probability is very small, because the interim president has to organize election within 20 to 120 days. And then I am not seeing how he will do it and then appoint another person or call another person like the prime minister to come in as the president without organizing election. So the best way for Franck Biya to become president is through election. That he will not have a lot of trouble and problems. I make mention in the video that President Paul Biya came to power the same way. He came to power through a constitutional coup d'etat. That coup d'etat was carried by Amadou Ahidjo and President Paul Biya, because he decided to abolish the federal system of government, and then came up, amend the constitution and changed it in such a way that the prime minister was the one to succeed him, instead of the president of the National Assembly, in which the president of the National Assembly at that time was Mona, ST Mona. He was the one to take over power, but Amadou Ahidjo turned like this and screwed the constitution. Paul Biya can do that within these few days that we are talking and making rumors all over social media. So this CFA talking point is all about proposing lasting solution to societal problems. And we are holding on to Cameroon because that is where I'm